first IIUM graduate, and this is a fun fact, to join the Hong Kong and Shanghai Banking Corporation, which you all may recognize as HSBC. And he also has stayed at HSBC from 1997 until 2009, and he's also one of the major players in establishing what we now know today as HSBC Amana, the Islamic bank part of HSBC. Now, after his tenure in HSBC, he then, in 2010, joined Bank Islam as a senior manager, branch operations, before being promoted to the general manager of branch operations and supervision. He also has exposure to all kinds of different banking disciplines in his 27-year career, and is also a certified coach and a certified process professional. Now, moving on to Mr. Faiz Wahab. Now, Mr. Faiz Wahab is an active member of the MFPC HRDF Certified Planner and Capital Market Service. He's also a representative license holder with Phillip Wealth Planners, City of Berhad. He also has a lot of passion for financial planning and the investment field from a very young age. He has also received recognition from people, especially from the younger generation, from his website faizwahab.com and his social medias. He's also been awarded as a top achiever in investments, private mandate, as well as risk management from the TSI Group in 2020, and awarded as a top financial planning writing from Phillip Wealth Planners City of Berhad in 2019. He also has recognition from Bursa Malaysia themselves as a Bursa Marketplace Guru in 2018, and as well as received the Young Advisor Breakthrough Award from TSI Group in 2017. Now that you know a bit more about our guest, I will now proceed to ask their insights on the finance world and some of the challenges that come with it. Now, for the first question, I would like to ask it to the both of you. Now, what was it like when you first started your career in the industry? Any of you can answer first.
والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل من لساني يفقهوا قولي. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Good morning, everyone. I'm so blessed to be here. Like what Brother Latif has mentioned, it's my alma mater. Last time I stepped foot into this organization was in 1997, before I left for the banking industry. And Professor Azhar is one of my closest buddies when we were studying. So it's good to be back, and I consider to be blessed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be able to be on this stage here amongst the colleagues of Berhad and addressing all of you today, inshallah. Please, I'm a very simple person, so if you have any questions later on, please throw me any question. I will try my best to answer them, inshallah. Coming back to Brother Latif's question, how was it when I was first started my career in 97? In one simple words, it's actually very simple. Life was very simple back then. It is, as far as financial institution is concerned. I'm sorry, you guys are okay with English, yeah? Like consider yourself from International Islamic University kena wasih. Kena cakap Arab. So, as far as financial institution is concerned, transactions were very simple. Okay, back then, I think you were all looking at a normal bank as in having a deposit account. You do your withdrawals, your transfers. Everything has to be done on a manual basis. Similarly, accounting practices then are also on a manual basis. I still remember in 96 we still have to put ledger balances into your individual accounts. Right? If you come into the bank, those days, at the end of the day, we still have to write down the ledger balances. So after that, manual calculations. And I think all of you are finance students, so you're familiar with reconciliation. Reconciliation is still done on manual processes. So at the end of every month, every quarter, every year, will stay up late until 3 hours of the night just to balance our accounts and submit the balances on a manual basis. So, like I said, it's very simple. And from a physical perspective, you will see a lot of banks opening branches everywhere around the country, right? Physical presence is the in thing those days. And I think all of you, I'm sure, have been dragged by your fathers or even mothers to the banking hall to queue up to do your banking transaction, am I right? I'm not sure whether those days you are still I think you're still very infant, yeah? So queuing is a big thing, and people will be spending hours and hours at the banking hall just to make banking transactions. So that's from transactions perspective. From a financing perspective, again, evaluation of credit risk, evaluation of credit portfolio, the credit worthiness of someone who applied for a facility is also done on a manual basis, right? So, take for example, if you are applying for a single product like, be very careful here, all right? For a simple product like overdraft, or in Islamic terms they panggil cash line I. The submission of the facility application is manual. The bank will then need to do the number crunching as to how much we will be able to grant the facility, right? The bank will also need to do some manual verification of its due diligence. Right? You're familiar with the term due diligence? And then we will also have to do manual due diligence of the various credit backgrounds. So masa dulu we call or we send letters to CITOS, we send letters to SICRIS, we call up other banks in terms of this credit worthiness. So it's very manual. So you take the turnaround time is very, very long. A normal simple product will take you months to get approved, So these all manual processes have changed. Nowadays you don't see those things happening anymore. And it is very simple because you do not have the sophistication that what you have right now. Right? So honestly, I miss those days because you really use your brain cells. Right? I would tell you more about brain cells later on. Workaround solutions, or rather the manual solutions, have somewhat or other made you become someone who is really, really passionate about details, okay? About numbers, about ratios, about portfolios, because you will have to really have a good and strong fundamentals. So the courses that you guys are studying right now, financial management lah, apa lagi, Professor Azhar ajar apa? Those are very fundamental knowledge that you need those days. Now it's a little bit different, right? So it's answering my question.
Yes, alright. So, I started my journey in the financial industry way back before I started working, right? So, first thing, I was exposed into the stock market back in 2000 when I was 10. So, that's my exposure in terms of investment. Later on, in 2018, then only I start to be a financial planner. And as mentioned by Brother Faizal, that I was shocked in 2018, everything have to be done by pen and papers, right? But Alhamdulillah, COVID changed things. Right? So there are no more pen and papers. Mainly, all things are done digitally, including the signature. Right? Before that, okay, you can do all those forms, you fill on the forms in the PDF, but still you have to print and get the live signature. But right now you can get the signature digitally, so it's accepted. Yeah. But I don't want to go into that perspective. But what I want to tell you is that out there are a lot of challenges, because there are a lot of people that they are not taking their job, their task seriously. Because as a financial planner, so I did a lot of with insurance agents, investment advisors. So when a client comes to us, to the financial planner, and somehow we see there are problems with their insurance, there are problems with their takaful. Okay, for example, this one particular one of my clients comes to me with, if not mistaken, 7 takaful policies, right? So 7 takaful. For non-Malay, it's normal. Okay, for non-Malay to have 3 to 5 insurance policy per person, that's normal. But for a Malay, it's quite, wow, surprising. Okay, usually a Malay you have only 3 to, no, less than 3. Okay, for individual, not for your house, not for your car insurance, right? So what's the problem with this guy is he is overpaying. Okay, he is overpaying his takaful policy, but at the same time he get less coverage. So that's what happened in the industry, because in this industry it's about making money. Okay, I cannot deny that everyone love to make money, right? Ada tak orang tak nak duit? Ada kan? Right? So everyone loves to make money, but where is your integrity? And that's the thing, right? So a client may not understand at all what's the product about, but it's your duty to tell the client what's this product about, what's the pro, what's the cons of this product, and it's not just about selling. So that's the challenges that I still face until today. Okay, because when the clients come to us, wow, why you take this product? Oh, because my agents tell this product is good. Why you take this loan? Because the banker tell me. So out there, people out there, they just believe what the banker tells you, right? Takkanlah banker tipu, kan? So what I want to emphasize is that when you come to industry, money matters, but integrity you cannot buy. Okay, so yeah, that's it.
Wow, very amazing insights from the both of you on the finance industry back then, now, and the challenges that come with it. Now, there are a few more questions I also want to ask. Now, this next question extends to Sir Faiz. So, as we know, ASB and KWSP are some of the platforms that people use to save money up until these days. Now, in your opinion, what other options can we as people opt for to save money?
Okay, this is a very common question that I get. So, EPF and ASB, why this kind of questions come? Because of the lower that's the obvious question, okay? So people come to ask me, why you want to invest something else other than KWSP and ASB? Or sikit sangat 5%, not more than 5%, not even 5%, right? So for me, to be honest, EPF and EPF and ASB is still a good instrument. Okay, it's still a good instrument up to today, but you need to understand that it's not enough. What I mean by that? Okay, let's say you have 1,000 ringgit. Okay, you put in AASB. Don't put 1,000 ringgit in AASB. Obviously, you are still not working, so you're not using your EPF yet. Okay, but later on, EPF is mandatory for everyone. So obviously, you have to contribute for your EPF. So that's a done deal for EPF. But we need to understand, for a working person, you may not think about this because you are still young. But for a working person, in order for you to retire comfortably, you have to have a saving ratio, which is what I mean by saving ratio. It mean by your saving compared to your net income more than 30%. So for EPF, you already contributed about 20%. So you need additional 10%. So for example, okay, your income 5,000 ringgit, so 10%, which is 500 ringgit. So don't put 500 ringgit all in ASB. Okay, you can put in ASB, let's say 200 ringgit, right? And the other 300 ringgit, you can go for another kind of investment. There are a lot of investment out there. You can go for unit trust, you can go for stock market itself, directly to the stock market. Okay, but obviously 300 ringgit is not that much for stock market, honestly say, alright. Then you can go for gold investment. There are a lot of gold investment out there. They are from the banks. For example, that one I've been using from Maybank Gold, Amiga. Right, so that's a good thing for starter. Right, you can go for public gold, but I have to warn you, there are a lot of unlicensed investment scheme. Right, so please beware. You might be the victim of this kind of scheme, all those scams, of all those hanky-panky products. Right? So you can go for gold, you can go for unit trust, you can go direct to the share market, or even you can put in your tabung haji also. Okay, because tabung haji usually is quite underrated, because people compare, oh, tabung haji just give us 3%, while ASB give you like 5%. But you need to understand, okay, for tabung haji, let's say they give you 3% is after the zakat already. Okay, so when you put zakat into consideration, technically tabung haji give us more than ASB itself. So for Muslim, you can utilize the tabung haji, and also you can go for other type of amanah saham. Okay, under ASNB, there are a lot of amanah saham out there. It's not just ASB. Okay, mainly orang tahu ASB. So you have ASB dulu, amanah saham Malaysia. There are a lot of things. Okay, so please explore. Okay, please explore. And also, okay, right now we go for cryptocurrency also. Right, I know a lot of you are stuck in cryptocurrency right now because the price of cryptocurrency quite bad right now, right? So I don't totally understand, because I have some exposure in cryptocurrency also. Okay, cryptocurrency is good thing, right? But you need to do extra due diligence. Okay, so kalau ASB pun belum ada, then please prioritize your ASB first, because you know ASB doesn't charge you anything. Okay, so it's technically free and it's capital guaranteed. Capital guaranteed. So I think it's very good for starter. Then later on you try to step by step. The problem is people, you know, they want to be rich very quickly. It's like they deposit right now, they get rich yesterday. Okay, they don't want to get rich now. No, they want to get rich yesterday, because okay, people so eager to be rich, but they forget that and investment come in as a risk, right? So yeah, that's
Okay, well, that was a lot to hear actually. But very interesting insights from you, and especially that last part regarding how people tend to forget that investment is also a risk rather than just a benefit. Now, this next question I have in mind actually extends to Sir Ahmad Faizal. Now, Sir Faisal. Now, in your opinion, what are some of the most pressing financial issues in the industry today?
Pressing financial issues. Integrity is actually most pressing financial issues, because a wise man told me when I first started my career, dia kata dalam bahasa Melayu lah, dia duit ni dia ada hantu dia. Okay? Money has its own type of demon, right? Any angle of financial transactions, financial dealings, financial investments, integrity is number one. And there's no two ways about it, right? And I'm sure you have been reading in the news where, US banks have gone bankrupt overnight. Those are all issues of integrity, right? And in the words of Warren Buffett, dia kata apa? Integrity is everything when you want to hire someone. So you have any financial transaction or financial investment scenario, you started off like orang kata very naive, and you be spontaneous to say that don't worry, I'm very much a clean guy, so But then when things develop nicely, so a lot of those whispers coming in, you start to be able to see lorong-lorong tikus, you start to see ways where you can cut corners, where you can, maybe take a portion of X amount out of it, then comes to it. And this is where a lot of those company goes past. Lehman Brothers, you talk about all the big screw-ups in the financial or banking world is all about integrity, right? So that's number one, integrity. Number two, you're talking about greediness of people. When you say people, it's banks lah. Leveraging upon leveraging sampai 10 kali leverage upon, you see the mortgage crash back in 2008 is the greatest financial crisis ever, and it took us years to bounce back. That by itself is about greediness. How you leverage a normal or even a worker's punya mortgage and put it into the stock market and get money out of it and leverage it again. These are all about greediness. And unfortunately, back here pun it's sama juga. I'm sure you also read in the papers. I think last week or earlier this week, there is a 576 million sukuk deal. Somebody got caught, a company, and I was reading the profile of the company this morning, last night with some colleagues of ours. It's a $2 company. It's a $2 company, and the bank agreed to grant them a sukuk facility of 576 million ringgit, fully subscribed by the bank. So you begin to wonder what is happening. So number two is greediness. Number three, and this is my personal opinion, actually that regulations can only help you so much, right? And banking is one of the most, in fact, the most highly regulated industry in the world. Okay. Back before I first started, the accounting standards was very simple. And now you have Basel 1, Basel 2, Basel 3, NFRS, IFRS, liquidity, I don't know. I lost track of how much accounting standards that needs to be met. And then come moratorium, everybody putting. It's neither here nor there. I don't know how banks are. You can't even imagine how banks treat accounting entries as far as moratorium is concerned. So again, what I'm saying is that when there is too much regulations, then they start to become a little bit confused. Basically, where are we heading? It's like you're building a house and there's no windows. So what happened? You think very creatively on how to get out from the house. Whereas a conventional bank will have a house with a door and a normal window. So you know kalau in terms of emergency, or you cannot be creative because you have the normal way of doing things. But a house with a lot of windows, with no windows, start thinking, how do I circumvent the problem? So maybe we overdo it. This is again my personal opinion in terms of regulations. So it's very difficult to say whether regulations really help us or not, right? Another regulation which is like very famous is Amla Fatka Pua. You familiar with Amla Fatka Pua? Anti-money laundering, proceeds of unlawful activity and terrorist financing. Amla Fatka Pua. Okay. Anti-money laundering, activity, terrorist financing, proceeds of unlawful activities. Okay. Those days you ever even heard of money Amla Fatka Pua, but after that money laundering comes into the picture. 1MDB comes into the picture. Right? So, the more regulations we have, the more problems we have. You know about the correlation of what I'm trying to say. So it's very complicated actually, this world now which we are living in. Whether it's good or not, it all depends on which side of the coin or which perspective you're looking at. But again, it goes back to the first point that I was telling you just now. It goes back to integrity. Allah gave us only one book, the Quran. Now, we don't have multiple books. Just imagine if Allah revealed upon us many books. We will be equally confused. So that's man-made regulations. And again, man yang akan try to circumvent all those laws and regulations. That's my thing.
Actually, I am speechless about that because, okay, wow. I mean, I actually agree with you on a lot of the points, especially on integrity and the greediness, especially as we all know the term Spanish accountants, very famous for money laundering, tax evasion and all that. So I do agree with a lot of points in that regard. And very nice to know. Now, this next question extends to both of our guests. If we look into the current economic and financial situation of Malaysia right now, and especially with how COVID-19 has affected the world as a whole, and of course with inflation, especially in Malaysia, the rising cost of goods and whatnot, and people having difficulty surviving in the current economic situation, can you give us some of the most significant examples of financial crises in the past? And what are your opinions on past financial crises compared to the most recent one, COVID-19, or the more recent ones that we've had?
So, like I said just now, we have the Great Depression in 1930s. So those Great Depression, again, it's just a simple crisis, right? But the worst financial crisis would be in 2008, the global financial crisis that was triggered again by the subprime mortgage issue in the US, and then you have high leverages, what I've mentioned just now, a lot of unregulated areas of financial institution, and then those back then in 2008 credit rating agencies were not very tough on their evaluation of risk. So it's very relaxed those days. So it's become a loophole for the banks to play around with their securitization. But I think as far as that period is concerned, the entire world suffered, right? And it requires a bailout of banks across a lot of countries, including Malaysia, right? And I think there were a lot of literatures for what happened and what has been done during those periods. And man in the street, and you will see a lot of this in the US especially. People lost their houses, lost their jobs, definitely they moved to the streets. Alhamdulillah, we don't see that much over here, right? But fast forward that 2023, we to a certain extent cannot relate to 2008 global financial crisis because the situation now is far more complex than ever. Okay? Take individual, for example. Those days, if you don't have money, you don't have money. Right? Now, if you don't have money, you still be able to get money. You understand what I'm saying? There are ways for you to get money. Right? You pick up your phone, you go into a lot of this money-making engine through application. That while you sleep, they say they will still make money for you. Yeah. I'm sure some of you are so sophisticated, you also subscribe to all of this. Just put what, $100 per 500 ringgit, then you go into this application, and then you see the trading coming in, suddenly, jat naik, jat turun, you know, sort of thing. So, money is everything. That's on the institution, on individual basis. On the institutional basis, you have a lot of instruments, right? You have investment banking, wholesale banking, you have cash banking, you have all these activities going on in the financial world. So it's complex. And the reason, just 2-3 days ago, you see a bank, Silicon Valley Bank, goes past. It's not equivalent to how we see in 2008, but that's how thing goes, you know. So it's an apple-to-apple comparison of financial crisis where we are now. It's not, to me, it's not the same, because where we are now is just very, very complex, right? You have banks who are certainly only focused on cryptocurrencies, right? You have banks who really does the traditional banking, okay, but then there's also banks that goes into a lot of financial leveraging techniques, a lot of startups, investments, which are so alien those days, yeah? But these are things that all not tested. And as far as Malaysia is concerned, a lot of banks have been requested to financial modeling, or financial modeling. The recent financial models that we are supposed to make is on climate crisis. Kita tak pernah dengar lagi global financial crisis. We are now already preparing into climate crisis. Siapa? Who knows what is climate crisis? Severe drought, severe flooding, tanah runtuh. So a lot of those issues are now being studied in the financial institution world. ESG, right? Sustainability. So again, like what I said, it's so complex now that it's just a matter of time that someone will come up with new things for us to do. And It's very interesting, to say the least. Sustainability, for example. Just take one example, sustainability. Malaysia, we are still very, very infant as far as sustainability is concerned. Right? In Singapore, there is one port who are net zero compliant, meaning to say they will not allow a ship to dock in that port if it's not ESG compliant. Okay. And the economy of the country depends on trade. Lagi banyak kapal berlabuh, lagi banyak economic activity generated. But in Singapore, they are this one single port, and you can Google it, that doesn't allow ESG non-compliance ship to dock. They can afford to refuse. Now, the thought process is like this. If a company who is not ESG compliant, they cannot ship their product to Singapore or using that ship to do trade. So the chain reaction goes backwards. The supplier cannot do business. The supplier of that company cannot do business because the supplier also have to be ESG compliant. And it goes back sampailah ke the raw materials. This is the chain reaction that you guys need to understand how ESG is so big that we need to really address it. Right? So take this water for example. So the cap has to be ESG compliant. The way we extract the water has to be ESG compliant. The material used in bottling this is ESG compliant. And if this is not compliant, you can't send it into the container. The container has to be ESG compliant. The ship that goes to has to be ESG compliant. Then only you can dock in Singapore be compliant. So this type of crisis, the banks has to be aware. If we don't have the financial model, or we lend, or we borrow, or we provide financing to ESG non-compliant companies, what would be the impact? And there are a lot of businesses here in Malaysia who are still not ESG compliant. And so, like I said, the crisis is so complex now. It's just not a simple leveraging problem, credit crunch problem. No, it's huge. War in Ukraine also create a lot of global financial crisis. Why? You will see raw materials not being able to be shipped. When we first started the war in Ukraine, what happened? In the automobile industry, what happened? If you read the news, the chip that is being produced from a nickel mine in Ukraine had to stop production because of shortages of the microchip. Because of that microchip, car cannot be produced. Because car cannot be produced, it cannot be sold to the car manufacturer. The car manufacturer unable to secure business from the consumer. Consumer cannot goes to the bank, secured financing, but the car cannot be delivered. So the bank cannot disburse their funds. Nampak tak the chain reaction? And this is where you as students need to think through the processes. It's just not about, this segment is a crisis. No, it's a chain reaction to any single point of supply chain that you are looking at when it comes to financial crisis. This is how bank works, right? We don't see one point, your credit worthiness at the top. We see the whole industry. When we evaluate credit proposals, kita tengok this company betul ke? Dia betul-betul buat air mineral. Berapa tahun dia dah berkecimpung dalam production of air mineral? Mana dia dapat air mineral? How dia mine the mineral waters? Is it detrimental to the environment ataupun tidak? You know, so these all the things are things that the complexities that I mentioned earlier on. Inshallah, that's my. But
Okay, so for financial crisis, yeah, we know it's happening 97, 98. Then comes the 2008 financial crisis. We are that too young to remember that kind of financial crisis, and it happens again in 2019. 2020. When COVID-19 hits. But this is one interesting point that we can see that it's quite different what happened in 2019 and in 2020 compared to the other financial crisis, because of in Malaysia especially we have this moratorium, right? So when we talk about financial crisis, people losing jobs, people losing money, they have to use all their spendings. But I kind of find this funny and interesting, because during the moratorium, people make money. And what good thing about that is back then, equity market drops. Okay, when financial crisis, equity market will drop. Bond market also will drop. Okay, and people will switch to gold. That's very very conventional part. But in 2019, in 2020, 21, okay, we see stock market goes up. Why? Because they have this money. Sit at home, do not do anything, boss not around. So instead of focusing on my job, I do the trading. Okay, and we can see it's not about stock market goes up, and we can see when Bitcoin goes more than 60,000. Okay, that's why Bitcoin goes that high before. Bitcoin, Ethereum, all those cryptocurrencies, and obviously because it's new, it's going to be the next internet, right? That's the chant back then, right? So this is going to be the next Microsoft. So this is going to be the next Apple. Okay, if you miss this opportunity, then you are the one who lose it, right? So that's the thing that being said back then. So this financial crisis, yeah, we can see that some people are losing jobs, but as mentioned by Brother Faizal before, the world we are living right now is not the same as before. It's quite complex. And if you don't have money, you don't have jobs, you can apply to be a Grab rider, food panda, or even you can be a TikTokers, right? Right? No lah. Yeah. Okay, you be a TikTokers. Okay, in fact, this is a study been done. Okay, young generation, I don't see you as young because you already in the universities, much younger than you, right? Okay, bukan korang. Okay, so jangan rasa muda saya, right? So much younger generation, what's their option? Going to university, take PTN lah. No lah, become TikTokers lah. Okay, become a model. Okay, become a product ambassador. Okay, I believe some of you doing that. Okay, because I know students love to do that. Okay, so yeah, money is not just about you working from 9 to 5 right now. Okay, so you can make money anytime at any place right now. So that's the world that we are living right now. But at the same time, we need to understand that due to the global financial crisis that we face recently, okay, so then only people realize that we are not living on our own. We have to rely on other people. For example, we have this issue with eggs. Eggs is so simple, you know. Eggs, telur ke? Bukan susah pun, bela ayam dapat telur. Betul? Right? But it becomes a national issue. It becomes a national issue because of we have a shortage of corn. Okay, corn. So the duck corn convert to the chicken feed. So there is no chicken feed. So no chicken, no eggs. Right? Back then, that's right. Back then, we used to have our chicken in our repan at our home, in our village, right? Okay, we just give the chicken whatever the leftover of what we eat. Okay, for example, the rice. But it's not that simple anymore. Okay, it's not that kind of simple because ayam telur we take it for granted before, but right now chicken is very precious. But alhamdulillah, it is try to be soft, but we look, it's not solvable. It's not solvable. And what I want to tell you, okay, with this new 2020 global financial crisis, is that we cannot rely on anyone. Okay, we have to have our own knowledge, our own funds. Okay, even the government used to help people. Okay, we know when there's financial crisis, there are helicopter money, and that can be given by the government. But the thing we need to know is that no, we cannot rely on anyone, including the government. I'm not saying that you have to go against any government. No, okay, but you have to save for our own self, right? So it's better be safe than sorry. Right?
Very nice answers here from the both of you, especially in regards to how we can, save for ourselves. And in Sir Ahmad Faizal's case, he talked about all of these different, how like financial issues these days are far more complex compared to back then. And all of these are very interesting insights to hear, especially for finance students in here in IAUN. Now, one thing that caught my interest from Sir Faiz is in regards to, your experience with, cryptocurrencies, NFTs and all that. I do have a question. Can you explain the benefits of NFTs and if there are any potential risk of these new up and coming financial products like NFTs and cryptocurrencies?
Okay, so we go back to the basic part first. Okay, so we need to understand is there is difference between cryptocurrencies and the NFT itself. Okay, so when you're talking about cryptocurrencies, is very quite straightforward back then when we're talking about Bitcoin per se. But when we're talking about the other cryptocurrencies, there's a lot of utilities being used for the other cryptocurrencies, so it's quite complex now. So when we are seeing a cryptocurrency, and we are talking about cryptocurrency, I do see a few usage of the cryptocurrency where we can make transaction much faster, especially when we're talking about you are switching between pairs of currency. Okay, let's say you want to convert from US dollar, so you are living in America, you want to give the money to someone in Malaysia, so you don't have to go for the telegraphic transfer, etc. Right? So the process may takes few days, right? So when dealing with cryptocurrency, it can speed up this kind of transaction. And obviously, what interests us as the user is that you will be charged much lower. Okay, so that's the good thing with cryptocurrency. But I have to warn you, there are a lot of cryptocurrency out there that they have no fundamental projects. For example, Bitcoin, it is the more like to gold, okay, where you have the limited supply of Bitcoin, okay, but we're talking about Ethereum, when we are talking about Solana, Cardano, right? So you need to understand what are the utilities of the project. So investing in cryptocurrency is not like you taking a bet. People love to bet. Okay, that's the problem with people. Okay, the higher the risk, the higher the adrenaline. That's why people get into the investment world. They become a gambler junkie, right? They seek for thrill. It's not about logical process of doing investment. It's about thrill seeking experience, right? So that's the problem. Okay, so when we're talking about cryptocurrencies, you need to understand what are the utilization of that particular cryptocurrency. So how you want to know this, you can read the white paper. Okay, so some of my friends, they do invest in Dogecoin lah, Binance Coin lah. So Binance Coin is still okay for me lah. Binance Coin is still okay because it's the coin that to pay for the transaction happen is Binance. But the other coins, there are a lot of shit out there, so please beware of the kind of shit coins, right? Next thing, we go for NFT. So NFT is a different story. Okay, so cryptocurrency used to store value, but NFT you can go beyond that. Okay, so if you are not familiar with NFT, maybe you are familiar with movies. Movies? Tahu kan movie kan? Biasa tengok movie? Biasa kan? Student biasa tengok movie kat Netflix ke? Oh, sekarang mungkin lah biasa tengok kat Netflix, tapi biasa tengok kat Netflix Shopee RM1 tu kan. Alright. Okay. Back then, okay, during my time, we don't have this kind of Netflix, we don't have this Disney Plus, okay, we have this torrent. Okay, familiar with torrent? Siapa yang yes tu biasalah download movie, faham je. Okay, download series and Korean dramas. I'm not sure, okay, is that torrent for Korean dramas? Okay, because I tak layan Korea, okay. So it's like that. Okay, it's like that where this digital certificate, we call it a digital certificate, it can store anything that you want to store inside it. Okay, in 2020, if not mistaken, okay, it is a trend for NFT where people, okay, with arts, paintings, okay, so they change into NFT and they sell it for some kind of price. The thing with NFT is one thing is that I see there are some utilization on NFT as we are talking about it right now. But what's matter for me is the blockchain technology itself. Okay? It's not the NFT. I'm not interested in the NFT technology too much. I interested in the blockchain technology itself because all those cryptocurrency, all those NFT, the backbone of it is the blockchain, right? So blockchain is something phenomenal, and in fact, I believe, okay, in future, I'm not sure, okay, it may take 5 years, 10 years, okay, our bank ledger maybe can be used in the blockchain technology where you can imitate what's being recorded, right, in the record. And what's what interests me in terms of investment point of view, okay, we see a lot of government initiative goes into the blockchain, but I still not seeing any products right now. But we know that. Do you ever go to KK? Not KK Supermart. Klinik kesihatan. Okay, klinik kesihatan. Okay, you ever go to klinik kesihatan? You ever go to hospitals? Okay, you take the numbers and how long it takes for the people to take out your record. Okay, sometimes oh cik, kita tak jumpa lah file cik. Okay, because I have this one experience. Okay, I do for I have some medical issues before. Okay, so I go to check up, dah pergi for multiple appointments, and the last appointments you have this final word from your doctor. So you sakit apa? Dia nak begitu. So there are a lot of checkups before that, and then the doctor said, wait, we have to find your medical history. So you bayangkan berapa lama saya pergi check out, semua pergi patah balik kan. Then that record hilang. Okay? And benda yang paling saya kelakar is that we cannot open your X-ray. You know, you tak boleh ambil X-ray selalu kan. So after you take X-ray, then you have to have orang kata time, then only you can take another X-ray, right? So how come the doctor come with a diagnosis without an X-ray? Okay, so I start wondering, is this going to be a sensible outcome from what the doctor trying to say? But apparently I go to another doctor, then alhamdulillah, it's nothing to worry, just small things. Okay, so the thing here is, okay, I see the utilization of the blockchain technology in terms of our medical record history, our JPJ. So right now we have to bring our license. Okay, so I think in the future, okay, the JPJ tak payah pun bawa lesen, tak payah bawa IC. Kan, IC kita pula. That's the funny thing about our IC. It's not even working. Right? Bagi-bagi, tak boleh baca lah, tak boleh baca lah. Right? So I think we can use this technology to help us. So yeah. Okay. But for NFT, I do support NFT. Okay, because of it compensate the artist even higher. Okay, because you know, in terms of the artist point of view, a singer, okay, they, for example, you subscribe for Spotify, okay, how much it translate to the artist earning? Not much. Okay, so by selling their NFT, they will get a better compensation, right? So that's one point of view. The another point of view is that all those NFT are being used for money laundering. Okay, so that's why we can see why this NFT can be sold with a price that doesn't make sense at all. Okay, you know, this is drawing lah, apalah, tak macam I couldn't appreciate. Okay, I couldn't appreciate the drawing, but it said somehow being sold at $100,000 US. Okay, so that's the thing. Okay, so please be cautious. Okay, please do not be the one that involved in the chain of money laundering, because if you are trapped into that chain, then that's end of the day for you. Alright, so that's all from me.
Thank you very much for your insights on blockchain technology, the differences between NFTs and cryptocurrencies and all that. Now, moving on to a bit of a different part of finance, being Islamic finance, and this question extends to Sir Ahmad Faizal. Now, my question here is, what is the biggest challenge that occurs in Islamic finance, and has Islamic finance been developing rapidly in these past few years?
Before I answer that question, just a little bit what Brother Faiz is mentioned about NFT cryptocurrencies. You're familiar with this person called Sam Rickman, whatever his name, FTX. The FTX saga, overnight, billions of US dollars gone, kan? Overnight, right? There is a saying in the banking world, or rather in the industry, saying that anybody who uses other people's money to make money must be watched. Anybody who uses other people's money to make money must be watched. So cryptocurrencies, blockchains, NFTs are what you call an unregulated industry. Right? You need to be wary of that. If anything that is unregulated, it's free for all. Blockchain in the actual fact is free for all. In China, you have this technology called facial recognition. It's being implemented in China to the vast majority of these areas. So the cameras in China, I was seeing this, I don't know whether it's movie or YouTube videos, recognizes a facial of a citizen and can pull out his medical record, his financial record, how many times he has been summoned by the police or being issued a traffic summons or whatever court case he has done, whatever things that he has purchases over the period using his credit card or his debit card. Those are very scary, isn't it? But unfortunately, we are heading towards that as well. Right? So, unregulated industries are things that what the world is moving to, and you need to be very cautious of this. There's this movement in the US where the drop everything, throw away the cellular, throw away the debit card, and move to the woods, and they live all in the jungle because they're just so fed up with this sort of world that is so, what is the word? I couldn't get it. So my advice to you, explore, but use knowledge. You must have knowledge in anything you do, right? Right, coming back to Islamic banking, I think one of the biggest challenges, Islamic banking has been around. I remember when I started off with the Hong Kong and Shanghai Bank in 1997, those days, I'm not sure whether you're familiar with SPTF. Have you ever heard of the word SPTF? Both Brother Azhar and I, or Professor Azhar and I were, again, we did a seminar in IKIP, Seminar Perbankan Islam dan SPTF. It's a huge seminar, and we were in our fourth year, I think fourth or third year. So SPTF is Skim Perbankan Tanpa Faedah. Okay, Skim Perbankan Tanpa Faedah. That is the first step of Islamic banking in Malaysia. Okay, so SPTF. After that, you have Islamic banking window. So it's just a tingkap aja. Then you have a full-fledged Islamic bank. Okay, so when it started, of course, you have a lot of evolution in terms of the regulation, the product proposition, dia punya transactional akad, so on and so forth. So there was a lot of debate when you talk about debate on the product, for example. Those days, I'm sure you guys are finance students. You have studied something called baik vitamin ajil, right? Baik inah, tawarruk, right? All those are familiar. I see heads nodding, yes. But there were a lot of debates. Certain countries do not acknowledge baik vitamin ajil, for example, or even baik inah for that matter. And there were also certain quarters they say, yeah, it's okay. This is the first step of a product or Islamic bank. It's okay. So there are different jurisdictions that allows baik vitamin ajil, certain jurisdictions, certain banks doesn't allow baik vitamin ajil. Certain Middle Eastern scholars, Islamic scholars do not recognize baik vitamin ajil. They also do not recognize baik inah. And there are also still debates on tawarruk as well, you know. So this lack of standardization in terms of fatwa, whether it's allowable or not, there are some, you know, it's actually a progression as to where we are today. If just flip side of the coin, let's say we all still harping or still questioning whether baik inah or baik vitamin ajil is a valid Islamic contract or not, we won't have what we have today. You know? So the differences in opinions, the lack of standardization in terms of product proposition is actually a good harmonization among the Islamic financial industry. Okay? Because we constantly progress, we constantly decay. In the words of Western scholars, we agree to disagree. Yeah? If we don't agree to disagree, then we are stagnant. Kita tak progress. So we must have that constant debate over product proposition. That's one. Number two, you will see that the rapid growth is actually goes beyond our imagination. Take for example, the Islamic banking assets in the world is now exceeding US 2 trillion if I last see it. Right? Where we were before, and Malaysia is one of the front runners of Islamic banking, you have never heard of sukuk last time, betul? Right? And there's a lot of sukuk going on nowadays. And what has sukuk done to the world, or the bond fund has done to Malaysia especially? We are the front runners. We produce world-class sukuk with world-class results as well. Right? That is progression. Again, what I'm trying to say, the rapid growth is making sure that we constantly produce results, and we constantly have scholars that are capable enough to advise the industry on the fundamentals of Islamic banking. But we are definitely poised for bigger things ahead, inshallah, as far as Islamic banking is concerned. And you being the Islamic banking graduates, inshallah, will have a huge burden to bring Islamic banking to the next level, right? Because you need to constantly come up with new products. Let's face it, a bank is a bank is a bank. Deposit al-wadiyah. Stability. Mudarabah. And then if you go into more sophisticated product, you have hijab. Lepas tu apa lagi, you know? But I'm looking at, inshallah, future scholars of Islamic banking, you need to come up with a new product. I don't know what Arabic word you can come up with, but we are happy on it, inshallah. Right? So this constant forum, discussion, workshops on Islamic banking is what we need. And I applaud you to go outside there and go into seminars, you know, because this is where you meet all the scholars. Your ex-chairman, Dr. Daud, is a world-class Islamic scholar, right? He is there, why? Because he goes out to other parts of the world to understand their fiqh as far as Islamic banking is concerned. If you stay put here, you only have the local knowledge, but you need to be a global player as far as Islamic banking is concerned. You know, we have scholars from Japan, Islamic scholars from Japan. I know of a few. They were from the Mitsubishi Bank in Malaysia. They are scholars, they take masters in Indonesia. So go outside, spread the word. I remember when in '97 when I first joined Handphone Shahai Banking, the interviewer was telling me, we recruited you because you are a graduate of International Islamic University, and we want to open the SPTF, Skill Perbankan Tanpa Faedah unit back then. No product, no nothing. We developed it from scratch, and that was one of the happiest days of my life because we need to see what I learned in UIA becoming a reality. We got to learn a lot. So expose yourself as much as possible. Inshallah, that's my.
Thank you very much, Sir Ahmad Faizal, for your wonderful insight. And I really hope, especially for the finance students, to to learn from your example and elevate Islamic finance to the next level, inshallah. Now, one question I want to ask, this extends to the both of our guests here, is that investment activities in general around the world have become very popularized these days, and with the ease of accessibility to all of them. Now, to ensure, especially for Malaysians, to ensure like maybe the financial position is stable in Malaysia, will having a investment attitude provide maybe benefits to not just the individuals but the country as a whole, and what steps can be taken to ensure the financial position is stable?
Okay, alright. So when we're talking about investment and other part of finance itself, must come to the fundamental part where the knowledge. Okay? Knowledge is very important because without the knowledge, you cannot make a wise decision. So there are what kind of knowledge that you need when we are talking about investment. First thing is you need to understand what products that you invest in. For example, you invest in a unit trust, so you need to understand how unit trust works, okay? Or you invest in stock market, so you need to understand how the stock market works. Okay, you invest in commodities. Okay, so yeah, in Malaysia, like Alhamdulillah, we have this FCPO, okay, commodities that you can trade. Okay, Sharia compliant, full-fledged Sharia compliance, right? And Alhamdulillah, in the recent years, we have this the Islamic brokers for the SPO also. Okay, back then, you using the conventional account, but right now we can use the Islamic account to trade the SPO also. Okay, and a lot of things that you can join into investment. When we're talking about investment, it's not a debt story. Okay. Years come, there are a lot of investment tools that have been created. Right now we have all those ETF, if you ever heard ETF, not EPF, ETF, Exchange Traded Fund. Okay, so it's like unit trust, okay, but it's traded on the board itself. Okay, we have this algorithm, okay, AI, okay, AI robots tradings. We also have this the ARC. You ever heard about ARC? Okay, so ARC is an ARC ETF, more to ARC ETF, okay, mainly. So yeah, they are using all those machine learnings, algorithms, AIs, okay, to help you to make a decision or for a simple term, Wahid investment. Kan Wahid kan biasa dengar kan, sorry tak biasa dengan Malaysia. Okay. Alright. Tak bukan, dah terbiasa dengan Malaysia, kita dah macam lupa dah. Okay, alright. So all those things, okay, is very good for you to invest in. Okay, I can say that people make money in stock market, people make money in the unit trust, people make money from the gold investment, what else, in the ETF. Okay, people make money from all those investment tools. Okay, we call it as tools. But knowing the products, having the knowledge about the how things work is not enough. You have to have the investment knowledge, where as an investor, you must have that analytical attitude. Because, okay, this is from my experience, okay, maybe your experience is different, but this is from my experience. I ask people, why do you invest in this products, for example? I heard this product can make money, then I just chip it. Okay, I know my friends making money from this, then I just jump into this investment scheme. Okay, and what happened after that? They lose money. Okay, so as investor, for example, you want to be a stock investor. Me myself, I do a lot of investment stocks, and I also do a lot of utilizing a lot of investment tools for that. But I do focus on stock investment. So in any investment, okay, we need to understand how these particular tools make money for us. For example, okay, we can use a quite extreme case here between commodity and equity. Okay, you familiar with those terms? Yeah. Alright. So in commodity, how you can make money? How can you make money from commodity? Okay, a straightforward answer. Where we are not talking about derivative. We are not talking about options. Okay, purely commodity transaction. So you buy a gold. Let's say you buy gold. Last week I bought at 180. 160 more or less. Okay, today's okay. It goes more than 280. Sorry, 260 before. Okay, last week. Last week. Alright. So last week 260. So today it's already close to 280 per gram. Okay, 280 per gram. Okay, we are talking per gram lah. Takkan nak cerita berapa banyak rumah kan kita beli kan. Okay, so that's per gram. So you make money, okay, when the asset appreciate. Okay, so how does the asset or how does gold appreciate? Okay, macam mana? Tak tahu kan? Okay, because of there are demand for gold. Okay, that's the basic part. Okay, so how the demand of gold can increase, etc., etc. That one you have to dig further. That's your homework lah, your assignment kan. Jangan hantar kat saya pula. Okay, do not submit. Okay, saya submit. Alright, so when we're talking about equity, right? So equity is the same thing, right? How the equity or the share price can goes up because there's demand for the equity or for demand for the stock itself. How the demand can goes up, then you have to study how the demand for a company can goes up, right? So you need to have that kind of knowledge. Why things happen, how these tools can help me, how these tools can make money, and then let's say for a stock trader, right? You start to know, oh, for these stocks to goes up, it must, the company must make money from me. Betul tak? Kan? Kalau company tak ada profit, if the company doesn't have a better profit, then how come they can give you a dividend? Okay, so without a dividend, how can the share price goes up? Okay, with a good earnings, right? So then we come with this finance part. Okay, yang tadi tu common knowledge. common orang kata general knowledge. Then here comes the finance part where I believe, this is from my experience also. Most of the finance students, they don't love accounting, right? Okay, everyone hates accounting, right? There are a lot of account that you have to study. A lot of accounting standard that you have to understand, right? But that's the devil. If you don't really have good understanding about accounting standards, all those accounts, how those account works, then you will make a terrible decision. Very, very terrible decision. As finance officer, later on I hope all of you become a finance officer, or even those CFO one day, right? Without understanding any accounting standard, you won't go anywhere. Because in finance, it's all about debit and credit. If you do not understand that and you cannot master that, then you cannot make a very good decision. The problem with these finance people, they know all those financial ratio, debt to asset, gearing ratio, etc., etc., etc. Apa lagi ratio yang biasa kita ada? Solvency ratio. Wow. I can see a lot of you paying attention, class. Okay. Alright. So yeah, we have all those liquidity ratio lah, apa kan? But this ratio comes from somewhere. If you cannot master the accounting process, then you will be the one fooled by your accountant. Because as a finance officer, you have to make decision based what's being presented in front of you. They say, how much asset you have? We have 1 million. So what the 1 million compromise of? We have this write-off asset. So accountant, their job is to make a good representation, and you have to make a good decision. But a good decision must come with a good understanding. Without a good understanding, then you will make a terrible decision. So that's my advice to all of you. Even though accounting is a very hurtful subject, please take it seriously. If you fail, then I will advise to you, go to find course outside there, to sharpen your accounting skills. Because maybe some of you will work in the finance department where you keep in all those debit and credit. So you may not become, you are the finance officer, but you are doing the accounting part. So if you find the accounting is very, very menakutkan, mengerikan, so expect that when you are working. Alright, over to you.
Don't worry, I put up a balance my account. In my 2 years of taking accounting, FM1, FM2, memang balance jangan takut. Right. I think as individuals, how do we support the financial position of Malaysia? If you are working, please pay your taxes. Ataupun if you are Islam, pay your zakat. Right? This is fundamental. It's the reason why the Quran repeatedly says about zakat. And unfortunately, the statistic shows there are more than 60 or 70% tax evade person in Malaysia. They pay, but they underpay. Right? So you can't contribute to the economy in terms of its progress. Thus, the deficit value of our budget every year in and year out. Very simple solution. Number 2, support local businesses. Right? Tak payah pakai branded goods. Branded foreign goods. Support local business. There's a lot of good local products out there that we as citizens can purchase from. Right? Because again, I was talking about supply chain. When you support local business, then the business will grow. They will be able to pay taxes. They gajikan orang tu boleh beli barang-barang makanan. So it's contributing back to the economy. But the moment you spend on foreign goods, then it goes up. Right? Sama lah. You go to Starbucks, you go to all those foreign entities, it goes the same thing. All this is what? It's about responsible spending and responsible borrowing as well. And if you are living beyond your means, then you will not be able to contribute back to the economy. In fact, you're giving problems to the economy. And you've heard of the word financial inclusion? Financial inclusion. It's a big word now, right? In fact, in some banks, they even have group financial inclusion officer. Don't know what that means, but they have that. Find out what is financial inclusion is all about. But in simple term, in layman's term, it's very simple. Every one of us, you and me, we must have access to the financial institution freely, being able to make payments freely, being able to receive payments freely, being able to go into the financial sphere freely, right? Because in Malaysia, there's still about 20 to 30% of underserved or underbanked. Familiar with the term underserved, underbanked? Google semua. And all these people actually do not have access to financial services. They still keep money. Macam dulu bawa dalam bantal, dalam pakaian. Literally lah. But the good thing is almost 90% has banking accounts. But they don't have access to make payments. So that is why now you see Bank Negara is so heavy on mobile payment, QR code, all this easy access to payments. Because it talks about financial inclusion. Because the moment you make people easy to pay other people, then the money works. It generates. This is simple money and banking punya 101. And last but not least, goes back to the first point that I mentioned today. Integrity. As a citizen of Malaysia or even citizen of the world, do everything with integrity. Masalah kita sekarang, what is the number one enemy of Malaysia? Rasuah. Corruption. Corruption spoils the economy to the core. Right? And you are the young generation that needs to eradicate rasuah. From whatever country you are from, it doesn't matter. A nation economy can be devastated by rasuah. Believe me. That is why I think so many governments propagate, oh kami akan bantah rasuah. But it is yet to be proven. Right? So go back to my first point, integrity. Because you are people who are going to handle these finances.
Inshallah. Now, thank you very much to Sir Ahmad Faizal and Sir Faiz Wahab for their very amazing insights into the various problems of the financial world and how we as citizens in Malaysia and as even outsiders can perhaps learn from their experience, as well as how we can further better Malaysia's financial standing. Now, with this concludes our session of asking the guests the questions from the moderator's side. Now, I pass the floor to you, the audience, to ask questions to our respective guests. Now, if you want to ask, you may scan this code over here as displayed, and just key in your questions, and I'll also make sure to specify if it's to one or both. And now I pass the floor on to the MC.
Hello, Assalamualaikum. So my name is Humaira, and I would like to ask a question to any speaker. So coming from Islamic Finance Department, of course our ideal career choice would be the banking industry. So from what I know, commercial banking is, very much a no-no. However, Mr. Faizal also mentioned that there's some issues of Sharia compliancy within Islamic banking themselves. So how do we ensure that the money that we'll be making, if we want to opt for the banking industry, will be halal? Thank you.
I mentioned just now, banking is a highly regulated industry at various levels. I think there are not less than 10 akta ataupun act that is governing banking laws. Of course, Islamic banking falls under the ambit of IFSA, Islamic Financial Services Act. Any issues of non-compliance, now we have the Sharia Governance Framework, SGF. It was introduced in 2015 or 14, has kicked in, and it gives the holistic requirement of all the Islamic banks out there, and they don't, and I can tell you, they don't treat non-Sharia compliant lightly, right? In fact, at the very core of any Islamic banks, Sharia Committee or Sharia Department is at the forefront of it. Dia macam funnel. Products are being developed, transactions, processes are being developed, but it has to have the approval of the Sharia Department and subsequent Sharia Committee before it is being launched outside. So any non-Sharia compliance arising from any transactions for that matter is then be flowed to the Sharia Committee for deliberation and subsequent submission to the regulators. And rest assured, if you are having an account with the Islamic banking, your money is, I would say, 110% inshallah Sharia compliant. And any non-Sharia compliant issues will have a very strict monitoring governance framework until recognition. We have banks currently now under a very tight Sharia supervision, because banks, if you are working with the bank, the regulators periodically come and do audits. Okay, but the audit is holistic audits. Then they will come up with something what we call a composite risk rating. So they assess, I think, no less than 20 risk issues of a bank, and then come up with a rating. Once the rating comes out, then they will have the monitoring of resolutions of the audit finding. And they have very tight deadlines to do. And we have we have cases where entire Sharia committee has been asked to step down because they don't do their work. You know? So that sort of illustration stems to the fact that they don't take non-Sharia compliant very lightly. And like I said, Malaysia has one of the most robust Sharia governance framework in the world. In fact, our Sharia scholars are being hijacked from Malaysia to lead and institute Sharia governance framework in other parts of the world. So kita is very far ahead as far as non-Sharia compliance issues is concerned. Right, thank you.
So now I will read the questions asked by the audience. So any of the speakers may answer the questions. Okay. So the first question is, what type of savings that we need to save first before investing?
Okay, so I think this is falls under my thing, okay? Because as financial planner, we do advise people, okay? And we can give financial advice to people. So, what type of saving that we need to save first before investing, right? So, for me, okay, it's very simple. Saving is saving. Okay? Saving is saving. Investing is investing. So don't mix between two. Right? But okay, we also understand that this is the saving for haji lah. This is saving for anak nak belajar lah. This is saving for house renovation. This is, I'm not sure, okay, how many people doing this saving to buy a car. Okay, because you can go to the bank, or I want to take 100% loan. Okay, so most of the people don't really practice that in Malaysia. Okay, that's the bad thing. Okay, in America, okay, they do save for their car. Okay, deposit for the car. Okay, not the entire car price. Okay, for example, you want to buy a Tesla. Okay, 200,000 ringgit I have to save. Then when I want to use Tesla, okay, so you just save 10%, at least 10%, okay, for your car deposit. Okay, so but first and foremost, okay, before all those savings, we have to do this one saving which is our emergency saving, right? So emergency saving is very crucial, right? So I believe most of you are students and do not have any income. Yeah. So when you are start working, okay, that's what I've been advising a lot of my clients. Okay, when they just start working, they have to have at least 3 months of saving. Okay, there are two school of thought ataupun mazhab lah. Okay, the first mazhab, okay, the first school of thought is that is equivalent to 3 months of your spending. For example, okay, you earn 5,000 ringgit, you spend 2,500, right? So 3 times 2,500, which is 7,500. Okay, but I don't really agree with this school of thought. Okay, except that if you spend more than what you have. Okay, alright. So let's say you get 5,000 ringgit, but you spend 6,000 ringgit. So you have to spend to have this saving of 6,000 ringgit. Okay, so that's the thing. But I myself, okay, I do agree with how much you get. That's your saving. Okay, so 3 times 5,000 ringgit. Okay, so it's 15,000 ringgit. Because, okay, we tend to spend more. That's the problem. And when we have this financial crisis or small financial crisis, or we call it as financial emergency. Okay, financial emergency. So if a car breakdown, okay, if your car breakdown, for example, you are driving a car, you have a gearbox problem. Okay, then how much you have to spend a gearbox? 7,000, 10,000 easily. Okay, right? If you have this issue like tires, right? So kalau you pakai Myvi tayar, okay lah, murah sikit. Okay, if you are using a better car, takkan you nak pakai tayar sokong, kan? So you have to use equivalent, okay, equivalent grade, right? Let's say you have these issues with your house, okay? Rumah terbakar ke? Bukan. Rumah terbakar tak apa, insurance ada. Okay? Takkan pun ada kan? Takkan pun ada, no problem. But you have this leakage in your bathroom, okay? And obviously, when you are living in Lembah Kelang, okay, mainly you will start with a strata house. What is strata house? Rumah tingkat-tingkat. Okay, so you don't realize there's leaking in your house. Okay, people living downside that have the problem. Okay, but who have to bear for the renovation cost, the repair cost? We as the owner. Okay, this is not my problem. Okay, so why I have to pay for it? Okay, no, you have to pay for it. That's in the strata law. Okay, right. So a small leakage. Okay, I just give you imagination what you have, what's the work have to be done. Okay, you have to hack all those cement. Okay, find the leakage. Right, after you find the leakage, okay, repair the pipes. Then you have to put all the cements back, do the waterproofing. Alright, so minimum 10,000. Okay, for that small leakage. Alright, so if you do not have that kind of money, then you will find it difficulties. Alright, so that's the minimum. So I think for 1 year, okay, for 1 year you can save for minimum 3 months after working. Okay, after working for a period of 1 year, you can have this 3 months of emergency saving. But after working for 2 years and onwards, I do recommend you to have at least 6 months of 6 months of emergency saving. Okay, and this saving has to grow as your salary grow. The problem is that, okay, I have a lot of people. Oh, I have 3 months emergency saving. How come you have this 3 months? It's not on par with your salary. Oh, that was my 5 years salary back then. Okay, so let's say you get 5,000 ringgit. That 5,000 ringgit salary is not going to stay forever and ever. Okay, it may become 10,000 ringgit after 5 years. Okay, so your new emergency saving is 30,000 minimum, right? So that's, I think, the most and crucial part. Okay, before you start investing. Okay, one is the emergency saving, and for a Muslim, okay, the Hajj. Okay, Haji rukun. Islam, right? Haji is rukun Islam. Okay. It's not worth it. You have 100,000s of ringgit in your investment account if you do not go for Hajj. Okay, unless it's not your turn yet, so no worries. Okay, jangan pula nanti, alamak, tak boleh invest lah nanti kan, tak boleh haji lagi. No. Okay, but if you have that capacity for you to go for Hajj, then why not you pay for it? Okay, we know for muhasasah you have to pay for 10,000, 11,000 more or less. Okay, but if you have the money, why not you paying for that full amount, which is, if not mistaken, last time I checked, is 30,000. Okay, but I have to tell you this one thing is that the cost of Hajj is increasing every year at a tremendous rate. Okay, I can tell you it can go up. The inflation rate, the normal inflation rate is 3 to 4%, right? Okay, currently we facing 6%, and everyone, 6%, huh? For Hajj, how much you think? The inflation rate can go up to 10%. Okay, so if you delay your Hajj, then you have to pay more lah. Okay, so I think it's very wise for us to go Hajj at a young age, because if you ever been to Makkah before, okay, if you're a bit older, going there is quite difficult. Okay, it's very physical thing that you have to do. Sa'i, umrah, sa'i, tawaf, all those things, they require your physical fitness. So I do encourage young people to go to for your Hajj, right? So for Muslim, emergency saving and your Hajj. Okay, for non-Muslim is your emergency saving, okay, and also your funeral saving. Okay, and because Muslim, they die, they have to pay 1,500 ringgit. Okay, tahu tak? Tahu siapa biasa mati tahulah. Biasa dengan kematian, okay. So you have to pay 1,000 ringgit for mandi lah, kapal lah, right? But my Malay friend, 1,500 ringgit, so expensive, you know. Okay, try be a Chinese. You want to die, 30,000 ringgit. Okay, then only you can die. Okay, if you don't have 30,000 ringgit, you cannot die. Okay, that's the joke with my Chinese friend. Okay, so dia kata, untunglah jadi Malay kahwin murah, kan? Malay kahwin berapa? 30,000, 50,000, right? Tu pun kata, mahal lah. Tambah-tambah yang lelaki je lah, kan? Mahalnya hantaran, kan? Apa ni, jual anak ke apa, kan? Sekarang pula ini tidak mengikut syariat. Okay, my friends kahwin easily 100,000. Okay, sebab apa tau? Sebab apa Malay rasa kahwin ni mahal, because salam kaut tu tak banyak. Faham tak salam kaut tu? Kan? Tak banyak. My friend, dia put out 100,000 for his wedding, okay, his and his wife wedding, but he get 120,000. Good investment. Okay, that's a good investment. Okay, so make sure those you inviting for your wedding have money lah. Okay, alright. So that's all.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Faiz Wahab. So currently we are running out of time, so I will open the floor to the audience to ask one last question to our speakers.
Hello. Okay, my question is for Cik Faizal, Ahmad Faizal. So regarding to the Islamic housing loans, we have been shifting from Bainah BBA to Tawaruk, and I believe we are progressively shifting from tawarruk to a better models. So what is your expectation regarding to this housing, Islamic housing model?
A very good question. The landscape or the fundamentals of the product will not differ much. It's just the way how we are going to appeal to the consumer when we enter into the contract. So you have rightly put dulu Ina and then tawarruk and then so many other Arabic words that are going to come out. Actually, it doesn't matter. At the consumer side or even at the banking side now, you always ask yourself this question: what's in it for me as a consumer? How would it benefit me when I enter into a contract with the bank? Right? How many of you will be questioning, ini kontrak apa? Macam mana kontrak ni? What is the fundamental of the contract? You don't ask this question, right? It's just an agreement between the bank and you. But what is more important is how it would benefit you. So my illustration will be very simple. Remember moratorium, right? Moratorium has actually disrupted the entire fundamentals of agreement between customer and the bank. In Kuwait Finance House, we also ada home financing. So we also, as we are also one of the banks in Malaysia, we also have to give moratoriums. So but we have to give moratoriums which is not inside the contract of a normal home facility. Right? This is tell story how other countries do moratorium. And I can say how we do it in Kuwait. Kuwait pun ada moratorium juga. It's far better than how moratorium in Malaysia is. Moratorium in Malaysia, they give you payment holidays lah, because you don't need to pay for 6 months. And then you can extend for another 3 months. And then you can extend it for another 3 months. And then maybe you can extend it if you can justify. But in Kuwait says, people in Kuwait says, you don't need to pay for 6 months. But after 6 months, if you still cannot pay, you come to us, we will absorb it. Because they are rich. No. I don't know why they can afford to do that. But in Malaysia, no, we don't do that. Because the Quran says, kalau hutang, you tak kena bayar. Right? So, to me, it's how you're going to appeal to the consumers as far as products is concerned. Contracts remains aside. Yes, they come up with any sort of product, doesn't matter. But if it doesn't benefit the consumer, then it defeats the purpose of what product that you're going to pay for. Right? Product has to have a mutual benefit for both the banks and the consumer. And it has to be able to make sure that the consumer are protected at all times. Whereas when you see Adil, it doesn't actually, there is an element of oppression when it first started. But it is a progression, like I said. So as you see the products coming in, they're more and more relaxed in terms of that, and more appeal to the consumer side again. So when you guys are going into the product development, this is the thing that you need to talk about. You need to think about the end consumer side. If you were the one who's going to purchase the product or going to subscribe to the product, what's in it for you? Right? Any contract for that matter, you tengoklah implementer, if you look at the banking punya product, it is the same actually. It is the same. Tapi dia ada catch sana sini. This is actually not good for the consumers. And we constantly try to evolve ourselves to make sure that any product benefits both sides, especially the consumer. And this is what Bank Negara pun in the Consumer Protection Act, make sure that consumers' interests are protected at all times. Financial instruments pun sama. You have product disclosure sheet. Kenapa? Because there's a lot of misrepresentation by the agents themselves. So we have transparency, regardless of what contract they are doing. Doesn't matter. Right? So sometimes those days, bank ni dia macam king now. So, you want it, you take it. If you don't want it, so be it. But now, it's terbalik. The banks say you are the king. You have a right to choose. The more appealing to you, the more customer protection to you, it's better. So banks has to constantly evolve their product to be sure we appeal to consumers, we protect the consumer, and we seem to be protecting the customers. That's my response to brothers.
Thank you very much, Mr. Faizal, for the answer. So, dear brothers and sisters, we are almost at the end of our program. Due to that, we would like to give some token of appreciation to our speakers. Therefore, I would like to invite Professor Azhar to give the appreciation. Please welcome. First of all, I would like to invite Mr. Ahmad Faizal bin Ismail to receive the certificate. Please welcome. Next, please welcome Mr. Faiz Wahab. Thank you, Professor Azhar and all the speakers. Dear honorable guests, before we leave, inshallah, we will have a photography session. Can all the audience move to the center so that we can take pictures? At the back, maybe can move forward.
Tak nak lah, I takut. Takut ni.
Thank you so much, everyone. Attention to all participants. You have to fill in the feedback form to get the star point by scanning the QR code on the slide. Time flies very fast. It is already 12:15 p.m. right now. Alhamdulillah, we have reached the end of our event. On behalf of the organizing committee, I would like to express our gratitude to Mr. Ahmad Faizal bin Ismail and also Mr. Faiz Wahab for their willingness to attend this event despite the hectic schedule and for sharing valuable inputs with us today. With that, we would like to invite our speakers and also Professor Azhar to have a lunch in the Department of Finance. With that, I close today's Deep Dive Finance program with Tasbih Kafara and Surah Al-Asr. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Registration.
Kasi promotion.